Well, hey guys, welcome to the Drunken Ship Spoilercast of Spider-Man and Miles Morales, developed by Insomniac Games, released November 12th, 2020, exclusive to the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and yeah, this is Spoilercast, obviously. If you're new to the channel, we do podcasts every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time on both YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, so check those videos out. And if you like this video, you should give us a like and subscribe, share our content, because it means a lot. So we're gonna go straight forward with this game. It's a spoiler class, so if you haven't beat the game, do not recommend this video at all because we're going to pledge. And
You've been warned.
yeah, you've been warned. So we're gonna start with
If I hear anybody complaining about a fucking spoiler, swear to God,
I'm coming to your house.
There's always that guy, the girl. So we're gonna go with each person and give them like maybe a 5-minute summary of what they think, story, gameplay wise. We're gonna start with Bryan. So give me your thoughts so far for the game.
yeah. So I was a huge fan of Spider-Man PS4, and I was waiting for the Miles Morales because I knew it was happening in PS4. I absolutely love Miles Morales. I think it's a fantastic game. I think the gameplay is everything that the Spider-Man PS4 did, but significantly better than what it did. The combat is fluid. The swinging somehow feels way better than it did back in the PS4, like in the Spider-Man PS4. The story for me was like the biggest issue. I feel like the story for all the Spider-Man games for me is always the biggest issue because they're kind of the same narrative all the time. It's always like New York is getting hit by a big baddie, stop it, and then you just kind of swing around the city punching things. The one thing that I loved about Spider-Man PS4 was that it wasn't an origin story, and the one thing about this one is that now we're kind of seeing like Miles Morales origin story, so now we're spilling back into that origin story territory that can get a little bit exhausting because we've seen it so fucking much. That being said, I the fact that we have like a black Spider-Man, a black and Puerto Rican Spider-Man, now at the front line of like a Spider-Man story that's more in the mainstream than the comics, that's more accessible to everybody, means a lot. I fucking love it. My favorite part about the game is just the gameplay. Like literally just like swinging around sometimes I load up the game just to swing around the city for like 20 minutes and relax. It's so fucking satisfying. The combat system I really, really loved. I think it falls in vein with like those, like I call them combat simulators, like Arkham Asylum and like Spider-Man, because like it's so satisfying to like dodge and hit shit and like do all of that. Yeah, they're so much fun to just go around the city and just start beating on people.
It should be an archetype. I'm surprised it's not a genre at this point, but yeah, I get you coming.
Yeah, I don't know what genre to call it, but it
doesn't have
like
any.
Arkham.
Yeah, it just is.
Yeah,
thing.
it should really have a genre because like Shadow of Mordor was the first one that I saw after Batman did it.
Yeah,
and it
same.
just kind of became its own thing. And I love that type of combat. Like reflexive combat is some of my favorite thing, and I think that Insomniac does an amazing job at keeping what made Spider-Man PS4 great, expanding on it with Miles and giving him a unique moveset, while not expanding it to the point where it's exhaustive and repetitive. It just always feels like right there at the balance. The story was my biggest issue with the game. Not because it was bad, but because it was short, and it was short in a way that left me wanting more, not short in a satisfying way. And sort of the idea I don't know, I'm not familiar with Miles Morales' story in the comics. I only know him from Spider-Verse pretty much. But the idea that like everyone around this man looks like a fucking supervillain, it's just like fucking
His
like
family.
his uncle and the Prowler, and like everybody knows somebody that's involved with some sort of like science experiment or supervillain activity. It's just gets a little bit like unrealistic and kind of annoying at the end because like we have one revelation and then we have another revelation, and by the end everything just kind of loses its meaning.
Yeah.
But in general, I really, really loved playing through it. I was invested in the story as much as I didn't like some elements of it. I just wish that like the main baddie wasn't his friend. Because it feels like, yeah, it's kind of obvious, and it feels like, how do you say it? Like, we need to put this Spider-Man through a traumatic experience in order to like validate him as a Spider-Man. And it's just kind of like, just let him let him beat some other baddie. Why does it have to be a friend? It's it just felt repetitive. It felt like I've seen it before. In all of the like superhero games, they always have that one revelation where it's just like, oh no, the guy whose ass you're kicking is a friend. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna kill him? Are you not gonna kill him? It's like fuck off.
This story was really like a shadow of the original PS4 Spider-Man.
Oh my god, yes.
So we are all on the same page there, because I was going to say the same thing. That's great. We're all on the same page.
The moment that there were two groups that you had to fight throughout the city, felt Roxxon and Underground. It felt very much like Spider-Man PS4, where you had to deal with Sable's group of people trying to capture you, and you had to deal with Mr. Negative's group of people, the demons, and their people.
Yeah.
As soon as I got into my first, the Underground and Roxxon are having it out in the middle of the show, I was like, wow, this is OG Marvel Spider-Man right off the bat.
No, it's nice.
That's what I'm saying. Sorry, go ahead. Ted.
No, I was going to say, it's nice in terms of story elements. I think we all seem to be on the same page, right? Like, it's, in my personal opinion, even though I think it's a great game, but I think PS4 Spider-Man story-wise is more exciting, fun compared to this one. Not saying this one is... Maybe because Spider-Man PS4 was something new we didn't have before, and just the excitement was different. But I came in excitement with this game because of like it's Insomniac. They make great games.
Yeah,
and I didn't really know what they were gonna do with the story. I mean, they brought in Tinker. He's like a Z-list villain. One thing's a girl in the comics, or related to Miles. I'm not mistaken.
No, it's just an old man in the comics.
Yeah. And I mean, like with Miles's story, like I was playing it like, cause I beat it last night actually, and it started off super okay, but near the like third act of the game, it got way better in my personal opinion. And what I do say, this game pretty much, in my opinion, does well compared to the original PS4 game. Is this feels like the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and I love that about this game. Like Sam, oh my god, the mission where she's doing like the sign language to the girl, that was really cool.
Oh my god.
Because it felt like he's just this character. He knows his town. He knows his city. He's like a small town superhero. And I like my superheroes that's like grounded by themselves instead of teams and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I've kind of got that vibe from this character. Because Spider-Man is the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. You don't really see that a lot outside of the comic. So the game does that really well. And I think it does it better than the PS4 version.
I loved a lot of the callbacks and connections to being the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is that, Gloria now runs the Feast. Gloria was the chick that Peter brought to or Spider-Man advised to go to Feast, and she had a bad attitude, but now she's working for Feast. Yeah. And I believe the chick that was recording Miles on the bridge right before you get your invisibility power was the same girl that was supposed to be Gloria's girlfriend at the time.
Oh, really? At least I didn't recall that.
Either the model is very similar, or it's the exact same chick.
Yeah.
Knowing them is probably the same, because the one thing that I noticed in this game is that a lot of the same people like show up on
A
lot of the same people show up when you talk to them, and that really is like the fact that Spider-Man PS4 was like the new thing, and this one felt more like a rehashing of Spider-Man PS4 is like the biggest downfall of the game. Because everything was better. I love the callbacks. I love the fact that you feel like friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Like this Spider-Man is actually a part of his community.
Yeah, I love that.
Which is reflective of the like even the way that he talks to people on the phone, that he's answering phone calls from people that he knows that know that he's Spider-Man. It just kind of reflects on all that aesthetic, that this is a much more personal Spider-Man story to Miles Morales that reflects more on the experience of like a black Puerto Rican teen in New York City. I just wish the story had explored more of that, giving me a smaller baddie than a giant corporation.
Yeah.
And make it a much more personal story. I wish that was the route that it had taken. Because it the twist feels a little too familiar at this point. And
it went too big for a small game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like the story should have been expanded into like a 20-hour campaign to fit the excitement that they were going for. Because everything went down at like neck-breaking speed.
Okay, I get you coming.
It's like,
yeah, okay, that makes sense. Because I came in knowing this is going to be a smaller game. But I think for what they did for a small package game, I think it really pretty well.
I think it's a little bit slow. The pacing's a lot faster because in the original Spider-Man, we had a lot more moments where you get the side of Peter Parker being Peter Parker, exploring feats. You're actually playing as Peter Parker. We got 2 scenes as that, and that's in the very beginning of the game. Christmas dinner, going on your way to the rally and exploring the underground hideout, and then immediately you're back into being Spider-Man.
Yeah, which I actually like. I don't like the any of the Spider-Man scenes where you can't use your superpowers. I'm like, what's the fucking point?
That was people complaint with Mary Jane's segment in Spider-Man PS4, which I didn't think was that bad, but I get it. Yeah, just pace breaking, slow.
Yeah. The thing with Miles Morales about the pace is that I like that the story for the origin for Miles happened in Spider-Man PS4, but you're kind of jumped into the Spider-Man in training, but then after an hour of being Spider-Man in training, you're literally going after this conglomerate, and it's just I should not be as good as I am handling this shit. I want to see Miles Morales fuck up.
Yeah. And
he doesn't really fuck up because everything needs to happen so quickly to get to the point where he's fighting Roxxon and taking down this massive corporation, where I would have liked to see him I would have liked the trauma to be, instead of someone. Hold on, something my door just opened. That was fucking. Sometimes my neighbor comes in without really asking, because we live next to each other, and it was anyway. I think that the emotional payload that we got from Miles Morales' story did not match the beginning of the story at all. Okay, it needed 10 hours of padding in the middle there to make a concise narrative, and it should have been Miles Morales faces the underground, has to face the reality of Finn being his friend, and then another 5 or 7 hours of fighting against Roxxon and figuring out that narrative. Yeah. The 2 narratives were too interlinked and too short to have any sort of emotional satisfaction to them.
Jordan, you got any input?
Yeah, I think I was just kind of letting you guys air out everything out before I kind of lay into it. I think this game has good and bad in it. I think the story is definitely the weakest part of this game. While you have that, I think the combat and swinging around and stuff is the most best part of the game. Especially, I reviewed this on PS5, so swinging with the DualShock or the DualSense controller was incredible. I think that really, really, really drove home the sense of being Spider-Man. I think they really already nailed it in the first Spider-Man PS4, and it just drove home with Miles Morales because of they kind of tweaked the game in a sense of they took out every all the what people didn't like from the first game, and they've added into this game. They've kind of added a couple new powers, the Venom Strike powers. Those are really cool. I think the game is gorgeous running on PS5. But to kind of flip flop and go back to the story, I think that was probably my biggest hang up. And pretty much I kind of some of the same issues I had with the first Spider-Man PS4. I think the story was kind of lackluster in the sense of just the I didn't care about the villains at all. I think they're really lame. They meant nothing until you get to the very end of the game. That's when it actually starts meaning something. But
yes, Spider-Man 4 does the exact same things. How does the last final boss has a lot of meaning.
Right. But even with Miles Morales, though, I think even at the very end, I still just didn't care. I thought the Tinker's villains were really lame. I really didn't care for their design, or I think the grounded in reality of it was kind of stupid. I liked actually Roxxon better, even though Roxxon was just super generic from Spider-Man PS4.
That's really fascinating because I really liked the Underground, but I really hated Roxxon.
Okay, so you can play my devil's
I'm
advocate.
the opposite of you. Yeah, I'm like the opposite of you. And I liked Underground because they had the potential to be something really, really, really interesting. Whereas like Roxxam, I feel like I kind of knew what they were already. And even though the Underground was a little disappointing, their weapons and design seems like something that could have been expanded on so much more.
I thought their weapons and stuff was super lame. I mean, it was like a sword and then hammer fist. It was like really generically almost rushed. And I don't really know what was their timeline for making this game, but the game kind of seems like they pushed it out really quickly because Sony probably wanted a PS5, a Spider-Man PS5 at launch.
Yeah.
And it really kind of shows within the game of how short it is. The game's only like, I think I played the story, played a couple of side missions, beat it in probably 8.5 hours.
Yeah, that's about the length of it.
Yeah, it's really not that long. I mean, they can't air out anything. And like what you were saying earlier is like, I would love to see like, he has the keys to the city. So there should have been at like halfway through the game where he's just constantly failing, messing up. And then at the end of the story, he kind of mends those shortcomings and then kind of overcomes like what his issues are and kind of show Peter that he can hold his own and stuff, and he's growing into the character and stuff, and I did like the small story for Spider-Man of like he is that neighborhood Spider-Man, he knows people in the community, and that can kind of gets like fleshed out with the side missions, but through the main story it's really, it doesn't get shown at all.
Yeah, we just get like 2 missions with that deaf girl and like a couple of high fives from a couple of other people at
the bodega
in the main
stuff.
story.
Yeah, and then like I thought the main villain, what's his friend's name?
Finn.
Finn. Yeah, I thought she was like really lame. I
thought so too.
Super generic. And then I'm like, oh, it just had like, of course she's a villain, and I'm like, that's why I'm saying like this story is just an absolute shadow of the first story because of Doc Ock and
Dr.
Peter.
Ock.
So I wasn't impressed at all with the story, but on the other hand, I absolutely just love swinging around the city. I already liked swinging around the city in Spider-Man PS4. And actually, before this game came out, I went back to PS4 and kind of swung around, and then I can kind of compare it to doing it on my PS5, and they've improved a lot.
You got the Ultimate Edition?
No, I just have the regular first. So I didn't get the remastered. I've only played the Miles Morales.
Oh, you didn't get new Peter face for the original Spider-Man?
No. So
speaking of that, I love new Peter face, by the way. He fits way better.
Yeah.
He looks like a bootleg Tom Holland, though.
I don't know what they were going
like
for.
Great value Tom Holland.
He fits Peter to me compared to the last guy. Personal opinion.
He looks a lot younger, though. I don't think he looks 23.
He's 24, actually.
Yeah. 24.
It's a year later, yeah.
Crockett, to what you were saying about the fact that he should have like fucked up a lot more.
Yeah.
I think that and I know that there was plans to make him be a lot more vulnerable or a lot more like dodgy as a Spider-Man, because one of the main thematics of the story is that he has to become his own Spider-Man. But they don't expand on that other than a couple of dialogue lines. So like I agree, the development for the story for this game was probably rushed enough where they couldn't get all the story elements that they needed to get in there at the time. And that definitely shows evidence of what you're saying, that like the development timeline was probably too quick for them to really develop on the themes that they wanted to develop on.
My overall consensus for this game is and this is just a thought, and this is my own personal opinion, but it feels like it was DLC that's been expanded, and I think Insomniac was planning on doing DLC, and then I think Sony has approached them, offered them a great amount of money, and said like, look, I need you guys to expand this out, and because we're going to need something at launch for our PS5 coming up, because they were only going to have Demon Souls. But now this
what they're doing with Spider-Man isn't new. If you play like Infamous First Light and Uncharted Lost Legacy, they're the same vein in this game.
Yeah,
same
but Lost
universe,
Legacy was like longer than this, though, right?
Oh no, it's about 9 hours. Lost Legacy. They're about the same
so it
length.
Is on the same foot.
First Light is the shortest one. That's Infamous Second Son.
But I mean, like this game, it just feels so. I don't know. I just felt
I think the problem Insomniac try to put too much in something that should have been smaller.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If they made, like Bryan said, if they made this like this is what Spider-Man 2, it would make more sense and make a bigger story and do what you're trying to do.
Right.
It should have been a more smaller scale. I think they went too big. And I mean, I like it's not like I'm being negative about the game, but I like the game is not bad at all. The story is not bad. It's just the weakest part of the game.
Yeah,
but it just could have been way better. It could have been way better. But yeah,
and that's the thing. And I feel like it would have been. Sorry, Devin, go ahead. You haven't really talked.
I was about to say, to go on the whole pacing and how the story is just kind of meh. It's not bad, but it's not the greatest thing ever.
Not the greatest thing ever. Yeah.
My most hated scene is the new suit scene.
It felt rushed, didn't it?
The resolve
are you talking about
was quick.
The montage?
Yes,
he built his new suit. Yeah.
That was
quick. He got one line of dialogue of, "Yeah, you're gonna fuck up, but this isn't your fault." Boom, let's make a new suit. We're back to being the greatest. I was like, "Yo, this is way too quick. I should not like a new suit scene. I should be excited for a new suit scene."
Yeah, I do. I agree with that completely. Go ahead, Bryan.
Yeah, no, it's like Act 3 of the game was really good.
Yeah.
And then Act 2 and Act 1 needed a lot of work, and then Act 2 was needed fucking 50 hours more development.
I think it's like Act 3 to Act 1 and Act 2. I think Act 2 was the weakest in my opinion.
Yeah.
Act 2 was because it's the point. That's the point where your main character fails. But Miles didn't have a big failure. He just had a little bit of a fuck up.
He blew up a bridge by accident because of his newfound power. And he couldn't communicate. That was his fuck ups in this game. He blew up a bridge, and he just couldn't communicate. Granted, he took advice from his uncle on just keeping his secret, which anybody would have told him to do. Don't tell that to Spider-Man. But in that instance, that probably would have been the best option, or they were leaning towards being honest would have been the best option for him.
I was really bummed out too that we got another fucking fight from the Rhino.
No, speaking of that, pin on that because I think Spider-Man PS4 had lame bosses. I think Miles Morales had better bosses.
Yeah, that was a big issue with
a big issue
with PS4 Spider-Man was like the bosses were super forgettable.
Yeah. But I didn't really. So like when it comes to games, when it comes to like sequels, I want the game to be familiar but different. I think Miles Morales does that really well with the Venom powers. Even though it's kind of a bit overpowered in a sense. But I like how Miles, he feels like Spider-Man, Peter Parker, but he has his own style to it, which is the Venom strike and all that. And I love it. It puts more depth into the gameplay and do more combos and all that. But it's kind of weird how they use that. The Venom powers is like a very like a vocal point of the game. But you got to use it for the generators and all of that. It seems like okay.
They were really trying to.
My biggest complaint, like gameplay wise, was that there was too much focus on these pseudo puzzles about like connecting generators and powering up generators and draining generators. I think that there was too much dependence on that. It's a cool gimmick to do like once or 3 times in the game, but when your entire narrative really depends on that power to like survive, there's just not. You know, like he drained like 5 reactors, and like by the time that he drained the last one, I was just like, he's gonna be fine. You know,
I didn't think it was that like bad for the overarching story, just because that like this is a job that only Miles can do because Peter's not here.
But that's the problem. Like
I thought
everything has to deal
like
with
they kind
powers.
of overdid use it. If they kind of like implicated that at the last part of the game or something, that would have been great. But they did kind of over fucking do it by using it like as mini games or like something like that.
It's in a sense like why everything needs power. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
It had to come to use Venom Strike.
Why do I have to drain the power? Why do I have to put power into it?
They use it and just use the mechanic, which is it's a lazy attempt, but you know.
Yeah.
And speaking of powers,
well, they're just shoehorning his powers into everything.
Yeah.
When he got his invincibility ability, it just went, it happened. So like, okay. Then it just yeah.
Which I prefer those games over like the micro like
the puzzle things.
Yeah, I prefer that way over that.
Yeah, I agree. The puzzle was unnecessary. It's just something to do for Peter to show his intelligence. That's it.
Yeah.
I think they did the same thing with
they
Miles,
knew that,
but you know, they had But I mean, they probably didn't have enough time to do like add variety to those like type of situations.
Well, it was also
just, like,
one of the main backlashes.
I think overall, I think one of the worst thing that's happened to the game is just time. I don't think they had enough time to flesh out this character or add in the proper like story elements into like the game and then the mechanics and stuff. I think that's what's really hindered this game into what it is now is just time.
Yeah, it's something there, just like it's something's missing.
Yeah,
something about it's off, and you can I can't describe it, but you can feel it and see it.
And that's why I compare it to DLC. It's like it just. I think if they cut this game like shorter, it could have been like $20 DLC, and I think it probably would have been better as $20 DLC if they didn't do Roxxon. They just did the Tinkerer. And then, they did all that. And then they could have probably flushed out those characters, their design, their weapons, all that, and had it in a way more contained story rather than kind of shooting for, the field goal here and then, hitting at the 50-yard mark.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. Devin, you were trying to say something earlier.
Scheisse. What was I about to say?
What do you think about that, if you're still thinking about it? What mode did you guys play on? Fidelity or performance?
I have PS4, so neither.
Oh,
I started out on performance due to Jordan's recommendation, and then later on, just to check out the HDR and like the reflectiveness of Windows and how they were trying to show it off, I went through and played it again, or turned it on. It was pretty nice. The fact that you could actually see people and cars passing by being reflected off the windows like a window would. I ran into one glitch, and that's because for some reason it was backwards. So I was on one building. The Empire State Building was behind me. I look behind me. There's no Empire State Building. I go to the other side of the building and I look there and there's just these low skyscraper or low buildings that's supposed to be reflected behind me, but instead behind me is the Empire State Building.
Yeah.
So they accidentally flipped it.
I played the last Third Act on Fidelity mode, and for some reason when I was playing the game, I was wondering why the heck is this game look grainy? It's a film filter of this game.
Yeah.
When I turn it off, it looks 10 times better. I hate that. But oh my god, Bryan, you're missing out completely on this mode. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I want to play it on Fidelity.
Going back and forth is jarring. It's like nasty going back from performance. I had to get used to it. Performance mode is the way to go for this game.
So I started the game in like Fidelity mode, and then I played it through like one third of the game through Fidelity mode, and then I'm like, okay, let me try out performance mode. And once I did any combat situation with performance mode on, there was no going back. I was like, all right, I have to play performance mode. Because it is just, it's just the way there's no jaggedness. It's just smooth like butter.
It's like
just
butter.
Fidelity mode is
there was snow falling on my suit, and it was
Fidelity
beautiful.
mode is ray tracing.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Devin. Sorry about that.
I was saying like to go on Jordan with the snow. I was just on the side of a building once, and I watched the snow just fall onto the suit and watch it melt off the suit. That was beautiful. Just the attention to detail they put into the game is really nice.
Yeah, if you play in Fidelity mode, I remember like playing in Fidelity mode, and I had his main suit on, and you could see the reflection of the spider on his back and stuff. You could see the lighting and stuff. And I'm like, damn, that's fucking crazy.
Okay, awesome. Following from Devin's point, and I hate to say this, Insomniac, if you're listening to this game is a bit buggy.
Oh, I've had like 2 or 3 crashes.
I didn't run into any bugs.
See, that's what I want to ask. Bryan, you're on PS4, right? How did it run?
It ran perfectly fine for me. The worst thing that happened to me is that the game crashed twice.
I crashed like 3 times,
but it was
3-4 times.
I haven't gotten a crash.
No.
Mine crashed because it was I have the original PS4. Like I have the first PS4 that came out, and my game crashed twice because assets didn't load, and then they all loaded at the same time.
For me, it stopped. Like it crashes like mid gameplay. Like remember the bridge level? He's holding the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
It
crashed.
Yeah, it froze. Yeah.
See, that didn't happen.
That only happened to me twice.
No.
The worst that happened to me was swinging through, came in too fast. One building didn't load, and I think it was because it was a mission building. Yeah, I think I was on my way to do the Tio mission where the cat gets kidnapped and you got to go talk to him.
Hell yeah!
I come swinging in, I swing through the building, and I'm in the map, and I'm like, wait, what's going on? So then I swing out the building. And the rest of the building, the whole building looks like low poly. And everything else is high def, so I had to restart. That was the only moment. It didn't crash. I just couldn't do anything with that building.
Another problem I encountered twice was when enemies get stuck into assets, and I hated that for passion. Like, they get stuck in a building, and I can't kill them. I can't complete the mission. I had to restart the mission. That happened to me twice.
That happened to me.
Yeah.
Do you guys know the cinder, the concrete things that you stop on? Like a car pulls up to like a curve in a parking lot, and you know those like concrete things that stop your car from going over the edge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys know what I'm talking about? I got to be that for like 10 minutes. Spider-Man. So
No,
that was
I see that a lot
swinging
for some
around as the little stop where you're like for a car.
That's fucking
Now, like,
dumb. I love
this
that.
is really unusual for Insomniac and Sony from a buggy game like that. So that makes me wonder what's going on there.
There's a lot of bugs like that. So I've seen someone where there were like the ground, there were a big piece of concrete. I've seen someone did a light. It was a lamp. It was like one of those outside lamps. That one was the funniest, and I wish I could have got that one because that would have been.
They probably.
But you know the funniest thing though is like so everything works. So the combat works and everything. It's just the model's gone and you're just the object.
Yeah.
I don't know why it
So
works.
you're
I
just
guess
a
it gets
lamp
locked on and
beating
hides
ass.
miles. But it was pretty funny beating someone up as a fucking stop sign.
Yeah.
Or a parking
know
lot
that
of
one.
cinder block.
I'm going to have to try to recreate that.
Them. It's very unusual for them to. They sound like they probably need at least like a few more weeks to polish it even.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what that kind of makes me think that Crockett is right about the development time, and the development time was definitely cut short, because it feels like something is distinctly missing. It's missing some Insomniac polish. In a couple of places.
It's unusual.
That being said, like apart from the story being the weakest thing, the gameplay that Insomniac has packed into this game is fucking incredible.
Yeah, it's a great game.
I never got bored of gameplay. I never got. In fact, I got mad because I finished all the underground labs and the Roxxam labs, and I wanted more of those. I wanted more Roxxam challenges and underground challenges because they were so much fun to go through. Yeah, but it's not like I want to. Something new to look at, like new organization of enemies, or I want a mode that's like just an endless fight mode, like just a wave mode where you can like fight.
Oh, that'd be great. Did you guys have any favorite
Sorry,
boss? Like, did you guys have any favorite boss fights or anything like that?
The last boss with Finn was nice, and
that was a really good boss fight to look at. It was really gorgeous.
Yeah,
I played in fidelity mode. But,
I really like doing the Prowler boss fight. That was like a lot of fun.
Prowler was the best boss fight.
It was easy.
Yeah.
The Rhino boss fight, the first one, it's not really a boss, but I love the moment him and Peter like says like play some music, and he's like fa la 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 la, and it's like crashing. It's like so Peter Parker. But like,
I'd have to say my favorite fight was I actually like the second Rhino fight.
Yeah, that was great too.
Because at that moment they take a fight that you already did, and they're like, all right, you can't cheese it with just electricity powers. You gotta go through some stuff before you can just start messing them up.
Beating on them.
Subtle details I really liked about the game. Like, the story didn't flesh out Miles as a new Spider-Man as much as you wanted. But in terms of characterization and his movements, the sloppy swings that he has while swinging, it's not super clean. He readjusts himself in the air to get it.
That's intentional. Yeah.
Yeah, but that sloppiness to his swing is like he's still fresh to swinging.
He's still fresh.
The excitement that he gets, like, you know, the swagger of a black kid growing up in New York. I hate that line, but I love the jump off that he does, that backwards jump off.
Oh my god, that animation's fantastic. I do it all the time.
Yes,
really he does the leap of fate animation. I do it all the time. It's so nice. One thing though is not really minor, but the costumes suck in this. I don't like Miles have a long
they're not
history
great.
yet.
Yeah, they're not great. My favorite one is the cat suit and the yellow suit that you get from finishing the Spider-Man apps.
The Black Lives
Matter the Black Lives Matter suit. I really love the way that suit looks.
My favorite is the main games. That's the one.
No.
I put on
really like the other one.
I put on the winter suit, with the scarf.
I got it on right now
because I like it. Haley's amazing. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, they need to get together later on.
Yes, they do.
They do. They need to get it on. See, that makes me want them. So let's say Spider-Man 2 gets announced. How would they? Who is it? Both Peter and Miles' game?
I would hope so, because
this is what I want. I want a co-op game. I want a co-op game where you can swap as Peter and Miles Morales, and you can play as your preferred Spider-Man. That's what I want. That's the next logical move for me.
Oh, they own separate
it's
stories.
Like GTA 5, where you can switch between the main characters.
Okay, yeah, like that, yeah.
I can see that.
I
didn't
because what I wanted at the end was, Peter's back in town, do some missions, and I feel like they're setting that up for the next Spider-Man game, because when you team up with Finn, before she just says, "Hey, next time I see you, I'm going to kill you," they have team takedowns. Like, if you do a takedown during that Rhino fight, Finn will come in and start whooping ass with you during the takedown. If you pull
the Prowler.
Yeah, the same. Yeah, they both they have takedowns. So I'm imagining for Spider-Man 2, when that comes out, when you're doing a mission with both Miles and Peter, there's going to be team Spider-Man takedowns, and that's going to be amazing to see.
Yeah,
Brian, that GTA thing you said is pretty smart.
Before we end the podcast, let's speculate on Spider-Man 2. So, I don't know if you guys finished the credits and watched after the credits, but we got a little teaser.
We're getting Venom. We're getting
we're getting Venom or we're getting the Green Goblin.
Green Goblin. We're getting Green Goblin.
I think we're getting both.
They're doing in the Ultimate Universe. Venom suit was answer, and kind of doing that.
So it's not like our traditional Venom.
No, Venom is man-made here.
Okay, sense. Are we getting a version of anti-Venom or like actual Venom?
We can get anti-Venom. We don't really see him a lot. But anti-Venom is more about white blood cells.
Got you.
I can't wait to see, because I love Insomniac Spider-Man.
We're definitely getting Venom. We might get a Green Goblin, because in the first game they showed Osmond.
Lizard. Sorry to cut you off, but Connors is. Game.
Kurt.
I got hyped for that.
He's
Kurt
the
Connors.
doctor.
Yeah, he's in the game. But go ahead, what you were saying?
Wait, Kurt.
Connors. So that final cutscene, Osmond is talking to Kurt, and he's like, "Yo, just get him out the tank. He's been longer there." And he specifically said Kurt. And I believe this is before he turns into Lizard, because he still has both arms.
No, he didn't have another arm. He didn't have it yet.
He didn't have the other arm in there? I thought he had two arms in that cutscene.
I gotta look at it again, but I don't think he had it.
Oh, okay.
So I'm hyped for that. Yeah, Lizard.
And in the original Spider-Man, Osmond also had, or Osborn, I don't know why I keep saying Osmond. Osborn had the grenades and the glider. Like, if you're playing that Mary Jane segment, and you're exploring this mansion, you can see like the glider and the grenades. So I
think we might be getting Venom and Green Goblin, because at the end of Spider-Man PS4, it's like kind of there's a kind of like a wink to Venom. At the end of this game,
Venom's confirmed.
It's as you notice that it's what's his dad's name?
Norman.
Norman Osborn is standing there, and it's green goo. The whole ring is green, and that's obviously like a Green Goblin reference. So we might get like a Venom and Green Goblin. That might be the two main villains, or we might get like
It can probably be like a Lizard side story.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
If we get the two Spider-Men playing side by side, I would love to see something like Peter tackling Green Goblin and Miles having to tackle Lizard or Venom, or like where one character takes one of the baddies out. Primarily, I think that would be a good dynamic between them.
You know what would be good? You know what would be a good idea? is Miles has to take out Venom because Miles knows a lot about music, and that's Venom's one weakest is sound.
Oh, really?
And guaranteed, guaranteed.
There we go.
Osborn's gonna become the Green Goblin.
Insomniac,
He's gonna get the
hire
symbiote
me.
at the end. That's the final boss.
It writes itself.
The final boss is a Venomized Green Goblin. Guarantee it.
Yeah.
Dude,
Norman's
it would
gonna
be
like.
amazing.
Yeah.
It would be amazing if we got a Venom Green Goblin out of that. Like if both baddies
I can see that
fused,
happening.
that would be incredible.
You got to switch between Peter and like Miles to fight.
That would be awesome.
Now,
Insomniac, give us a hire. We'll fucking write your game.
Yeah.
Before we end this podcast, okay, this is the second entry of the Spider-Man universe, and the third one's coming soon, which is technically Spider-Man 2. I just hope this doesn't become stale gameplay wise, because these are like another open world game, but they get another 1% game. I don't want it to be, because you got to bring something new for Spider-Man 2.
Well, I think that the key here is to wait and not release it the way that Assassin's Creed released their games.
Yeah.
I think the key is
I think this game's not coming out until the end of PS5.
I think it's best to do it that
very,
way.
very late into the PS5.
Probably like 4 more years or something.
Yeah, it needs to be that amount of time before we're kind of fresh and ready for a new Spider-Man title. Because I almost bought the Game of the Year edition of Spider-Man PS4 because I borrowed it the first time, and I didn't buy it because I had played so much with Miles Morales that I kind of like didn't want to keep playing the Spider-Man. But I know that that's gonna pass, and I think that like if you give us enough time and you innovate on some of those mechanics instead of maybe being like an Assassin's Creed type world where you have like a pseudo open world, and you give us an actual open world that's like very grounded in like, it's not a massive open world, but it's not a games as a service. But if you give us an open world like GTA that we can explore with both Spider-Mans at the same time, then that's pretty fucking refreshing in comparison to what we have. And go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just say that I need more content from these guys in a Spider-Man game. Spider-Man PS4 was like the great story time, like the length of the story was fantastic. And Spider-Man Miles Morales had really great content, but it was too short. I want a mix of that. I want the amount of content that we had for Spider-Man PS4, perhaps even a little bit more, and the fidelity of combat that we had, and the fidelity of combat and gameplay that we had for Miles Morales. Like that is just, it's fucking gorgeous. The game is fantastic, and I think that they need to keep the strength of Miles Morales, add more variety, add better costumes, and add just a little bit more of the side content or the challenge content, because that is a lot of what's lacking in this game.
Okay, so to wrap this up, like a little, maybe 5 minutes. So I probably shouldn't ask it, but so overall, we got our opinions out, how we feel about the game. It's not on the same page here, which is surprising to me, honestly.
Yeah, me too. I expected to. Like,
so for me, I think I would be the one that hates the game the most. To be fair.
Yeah.
No.
So like one sentence, sum up. Would you like? Do you like this game? Would you recommend it or what?
I think if I were to give the game a rating, 7 out of 10. Fantastic experience, needs more development.
Jordan?
I think if you played Spider-Man PS4, you could save your money if you didn't want to drop the $40 on this or $50 on this game.
7.
8 out of 10 on my spectrum. Needs more to it. Not just more time development, but overall content of the game needs more. And yeah, if you play Spider-Man PS4, you don't necessarily have to go out and buy this game. It's not much in terms of that'll ruin the experience if you just watch somebody play it.
Yeah, it just more or less felt like DLC than anything to me.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think it would be very good DLC, but it's a good game.
Well, read it from the Drunken Ship, folks. If you like that, please give us a like, subscribe, share. Yet again, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Is it called Spotify Podcast?
I think it's just called Spotify, and then there's a subsection called Spotify, like the podcast section.
Yeah, the podcast.
There are the links in the
You can see,
description.
you can find us on Spotify. Yeah.
Those links are in the description, and if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe. really means a lot because almost to 100 followers. Haven't checked in like 4 or 5 days. I don't know that now. But this actually, to be honest with you, this is probably my best thing we did so far. It's really consistent here.
I love it.
In my opinion, at least. You guys did well. Yeah. I actually felt like this felt professional a little bit.
Felt like a podcast.
Not every professional.
Yeah.
You guys did a good job here. But
I think we have to learn
before
taking
you
turns.
drop.
Actually, you know what it is? It's us trying to do it over Discord is really hard to not speak over each other because there's kind of like a lag with our voices.
Yeah.
I think if we were all in one room at a desk, we wouldn't be tripping over each other's word as much as we do.
That's totally true.
Yeah.
Before we drop, plug the Discord in. We have a community Discord. Oh, it's in there? Cool, perfect.
You can go and describe it though. But,
we have a community Discord. It's called the Drunken Ship. I don't know where the link is, but I'm sure it'll be in the description.
It's in the description. It is.
Check us out. We watch movies every week, and we just hang out and talk to each other. And so far, it's like my favorite Discord community that I'm in. I'm not biased, I promise. I just really hate Discord communities, and this one is the best ones that I've been in. It's fantastic. So join us over there and talk to us and give us your opinions on like whatever piece of pop culture you're watching.
And if you guys like the Discord a lot, consider us giving a boost on there. I mean, we could use the more bandwidth and stuff. I mean, we got boosted once, and it's fucking going great so far. I need to make some more emojis, but that's for another topic later. But guys,
that's it. Podcast is over. We're done.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming down. We do appreciate it. We'll guys see you next time on our next spoiler podcast, whenever that will be. But you guys can catch.
Is it Cyberpunk? Because I'm not going to be into it 2,000 years later.
Yeah, I don't know how long it'll take us to beat it, but it'll probably be Cyberpunk. So, guys, thanks so much. We'll catch you later.
Take it easy, lads.
See ya.